it might be great. Grateful to be here. Pretty good. Nice. It's really grounding for me to know how you all are doing. So thank you for sharing that. I'm going to introduce myself, which is one of my least favorite things to do because we are such infinite, multifaceted beings, but I realize a lot of you don't know who I am. And I also need to practice telling people who I am. I'm a multi-hyphenate, multi-passionate, multi-creative kind of character. Right now, my work is holistic sex, love, and relationship coaching. So I'm used to this type of environment, but one-on-one. So this is pretty energizing. So let's drop into this, to really what we're here for. What does living in flow mean to you? I'd love if you would use the chat again, but this time, instead of just answering from your head, if you could drop into your body for a moment and connect to what flow feels like. What does it mean to live in flow from a somatic context? And drop that in the chat. Yeah, the path of least resistance with the universe. Accepting intuitive guidance. Oh, I love this. Keep them coming. And once you've dropped yours in the chat, go ahead and, if it feels good for you, to close your eyes and connect with your body for a moment. I'm going to read our answers aloud here. And I'm going to invite you to feel these words, our collective definition of what living in flow means. And just notice how they resonate with your body. The path of least resistance. Accepting intuitive guidance. Soft, receptive. Not worry so much about everything. Leading with heart, intuition. Grace and purposefulness. Calm, open awareness. Acting with what feels aligned in your heart. Intuitive without force. Allowing myself to be guided by expansiveness instead of contracting. Living in response to the creative pulse or inspiration, completely energizing. Radical honesty with myself and others. Being present and creating your full potential, experiencing your purpose, and being a part of the interconnected universe. Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you all so much for sharing and for dropping in and feeling. We'll talk a little bit about why that's so important. But what I want to share is an invitation to intuition. So before I give you my hot take on living in flow, the paradigm of just listening to teachers and taking what they say as truth and running with it is over. So I want you to cross-reference everything I say by your own intuition, by your own discernment, by what you feel and know is true in your own lived experience. I'm among you, I'm with you. I'm just out here living my own life. I've chosen to live in flow as a lifestyle, as it were, for the past decade, and have spent a lot of time in study of spirituality and yoga and energy, these practices. So I perhaps have an understanding of it in any way, but I'm not any different than you. So I want you to really like hold that as true and just reference everything I say by what you feel in your body. Not because I think I'm wrong, but because one of the first and core pieces of living in flow is having a connection, a direct connection to your own intuition. Yeah. Okay. And I will say, as I'm sharing things, if I share something that doesn't resonate, be aware of the difference or the distinction between disagreement and resistance. It might be something you haven't understood yet or understood in this perspective, but just be open to hold that nuance. Okay. So that's my invitation. Beautiful. Breath. So before I go into this, I'll share that I put together this presentation a couple of days ago. And last night I sat to meditate. It was past my bedtime, but I meditate anyway every day, bedtime or not. And I was sitting there 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I'm deep in it. And I just get like ding with, it was like, Sophie, your whole presentation is not on. You need to change everything. And so I sat there and I just received this. So I created this all this morning based on last night's intuitive flow. And I was like, what a freaking joke. Of course, the workshop on flow is going to ask me to pivot and to be in flow. Oh, can someone mute themselves, please? Thank you. So anyway, I think that's all pretty comedy. And I'll share that what the difference between what I originally created and what this is I was creating from a pretty meta conceptual level. And instead, what we're going to be doing today and talking about today is really grounded in the body. Absolutely everything, every step of this is in the body. And so there's room for us to have, further workshops where we can get into more of these like meta spiritual parts of it. But this is embodied. Beautiful. Sorry, someone's trying to get in. How do I do this? How do I fly this spaceship? Okay. Yeah. So let's go ahead and land and arrive here with the breath. Again, invitation to close your eyes or soften your gaze and bring your awareness to your breath in this moment. Just listening to what the breath has to teach you, firsthand experience about flow. And maybe give yourself some of those nourishing, deep breaths that we all crave and could use a few more of. This is an opportunity for that. The reason breath is what we're starting with, the reason breath is the foundation here, is breath is spirit. There's no difference. The word breath, the word spirit comes from a word meaning breath, breath of God, breath of all things breathe together. Through our breath, we are connected to all beings that are and have ever lived, the seen and the unseen, the form and the formless, the visible, the invisible. Breath is what bridges all of that. And breath is our primary anchor to our bodies, to the present moment. And flow, a state of flow, a state of living in this non-resistance, easeful, intuitive alignment is imperative that you are in your body, that you are connected to your body, and that you're present. So we could honestly end the workshop here. Like, this is it. This is really all you need to know. Breathe. But we're gonna go because this is really the foundation of a lot of other pieces as well. So, yeah. And something that I'll be sharing. So I don't know if you all know this, but I'm going to be talking a little bit about Soma, which is this experience we're opening for 2023. I'll share a little bit more about that at the end. But in Soma, I'll be teaching, there'll be live classes once a week, and we'll be doing lots of breath work and lots of exercises to deepen your relationship to your breath. For a lot of us, it's a pretty subconscious, passive thing. Maybe we remember a few times a day to take a deep breath. But we're going to be building in things that actually rewire you to be more present with your breath in every day, in every moment. Okay. Let's move on to energy. So breath is the invitation of energy into the body, and it's also the moving of energy out of the body. But really, when we're talking about energy and what energy has to do with flow, is energy is this dynamic oscillation between parts, wholes, systems. Energy is this polarity, this magnetism, this network that connects all things. It's the relationship between things. It's what reminds us that we're not isolated, we're not separate. To be in a state of flow, we have to hold this awareness. And so the breath invites us into that. One of the tricks, I suppose, that I use in my own life in order to really live in flow and to make conscious flow state choices is to be aware of when I know what I want. Like when my energy feels clear, I act, I make decisions. And when I don't know what I want, I open my energy to receive, to let things come to me. And that way I'm engaged in this dance, this applied dance of willpower and trust with life. I'm also feeling like, just a quick tangent here, because I can't see all of you, it's a little like, I wish I could see you all. So feel free to use the comments, feel free to like ask questions and interact like we're having a conversation. It's helpful for me to feed on so we can like build momentum together as a team here. So just an invitation. Okay. Any questions so far? Are we clear on the foundation of living in flow? It's breath and energy. Cool. And like I said, like, this is my hot take. I could be completely off base. You could have a completely different frame that shows you what living in flow is all about. But, you know, you're here for my hot take. So this is what I got for you. Beautiful. Openness. So a lot of us hold, oh, you're enjoying. Good, I'm glad. Thanks. We come into this world. We come into this world as these like pristine beings, and the world is complicated and it's complex and it's messy and it's imperfect. And we take on those imprints, and we each come here with a different curriculum, if you will. That's why some of us have different types of lives than others. And really none of it's any better or worse than anything else. It's what you're here to learn is what you get. That's the adversity you're given. Those are the gifts and the blessings you're given. And that is really all the foundation of how we understand where we contract to life, where we put our defenses up to life, where we learned that we can't trust, where we learned to close. And so this point about openness could equally be called heal. To live in flow is, to me, a lot about how can we be undefended? How can we know that we are so held by life that we can be open, that it's safe to be open? And that doesn't mean to every person and every moment and every experience. It doesn't mean be naive. It doesn't mean don't use your own discernment, but it's a general energy of yes to life. Yeah. Yeah, it's a great softening. So let's stay in the body here. So connecting just to where we've gone so far. So we have the breath. And the breath kind of expands and opens us into energy. We become more aware of the energy of our body. We can become more aware of the energy around us, the energy of the earth, the energy of other beings. We can become more attuned to what resonates with us, where the harmonies are for us, knowing, not just because something looks nice, I want to go towards it, but I can actually feel the energy of this thing is medicinal for me in this moment. It's resonant for me in this moment. Yeah. So breath to energy to openness. Now I'm not just attuned to what is harmonic for me, but I'm actually available for it. And that's very much so, as all of this is, as I've said before, this is very much a somatic experience. So when you feel yourself contracting in life, we could do many, many workshops on how to heal, because that's a whole thing in and of itself. But I would say just start becoming aware of where you're not open to life. We don't want to pry. We don't want to force. It's not actually better to be open than closed. It's just a way that does invite flow. But there's a lot of nuance here, and it's a little bit tricky for me to go into all of that, but I hope you're following enough. Okay. This is our little water break moment. So I thought we would just kind of have a pause here and read this beautiful quote from Rumi, which says, "Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it." Can we do a little pulse check, a little drop in the chat, how you're feeling? Should I slow down? Is this too far out? Where are we at? What can I do for you? How can I serve you? I'm here for you right now. I know this stuff already. I'm literally here for you. What do you need from me? Yeah. Thanks, Groove on Violet. Beautiful. Okay. I suppose we'll carry on. Okay, this is one of my favorite points. Alive and present. Yeah, you're amazing and appreciate you holding the space for us. You're holding the space right there with me. I appreciate you all. We're flowing. What did you say about tuning in with what is harmonic? Okay, good. Yeah, this is the moment. This is the water break for us to catch up on anything that's been talked about that you don't understand. So let's go into that for a second before we carry on. So I meant to speak about this on the slide about energy. So the breath takes us into our energy, takes us into a deeper awareness of there's intricate systems of energy within our body, within each organ, the way all the organs relate to one another, the way that our body is relating to the ecosystems we're in, the communities we're in, the relationships we're in, the work we do. Literally everything is about the relationship of energy. And energy there's harmonies and disharmonies, if you will, to energy, which can show you flow and what I sometimes call anti-flow, which is where and sometimes things just go wrong and they're just consistently going wrong. And you're like, I literally don't understand. That's a lot of wrong place, wrong time kind of energy, which at a more meta level, I don't really agree with, but for the sake of when you're in your person and you're just getting rocked by life, yeah, that's kind of a sign that there's non-resonance in your life. So maybe to ground that a little bit more, and I realize I'm kind of speaking, we'll get there, just come with me on this. So to ground this with an example from my own life, I used to experience tremendous anxiety. I used to get panic attacks and have sleep paralysis every night for 9 months. I literally, every single night I would go to bed and I would have sleep paralysis. And I was just if you saw the way that I inhabited my body, I was nervous and I was doubtful and uncertain and just anxious. And if you look at me in isolation, you're like, oh, she has anxiety or like whatever. But when you go at the level of energy and you're like, okay, so this is a being in an ecosystem, in a community, and there's something that's not working here. You know, we can't put a cactus like in the middle of a rainforest or whatever metaphor works for you here. So when we're talking about energy and harmonics, when you start to attune to the energy of your own body, your own needs, that your feet are cold, okay, put on socks. That's your harmonic frequency right now. Go grab a hat and a sweater. You know, like every moment there are opportunities for us to harmonize at a small scale and then also at a larger scale. So for example, that year of my life that I was deeply anxious, I was in a pretty toxic human experience at that time. I was at a school that was really not good for me. I was living a lifestyle that wasn't healthy. I had friends that weren't real friends. Like, of course I felt anxious. That was my body's deep wisdom to show me, hey, please fix things, you know? So when we can honor that everything is energy, and what energy is information. Energy from the body is deep, wise communication. And we learn tools through our life experience of how to actually harmonize those things. Yeah, that was a lot. Does that feel clarified? Cool. Oh, let's see what else is there. Joined late, can either recording. Yes. 9 out of 10 promise on that, but yes. Great intro so far, and sure you can use the breath. Yeah, okay, great. So we're gonna carry on. Let's take 3 deep breaths together to just okay. This next point is one of my favorites. I could say that about all the points, but really though, trust. When I shared a moment ago about how we all come here with a different curriculum and we all contract to life in our own ways, it makes sense that we've been taught to not trust. It makes sense that we've been taught to not trust other people, to not trust institutions, whatever. So first we want to like validate that the places in you where you hold distrust make sense. However, and also, yes, and there is a greater picture that we have to stay in perspective of, and to really live in flow, to really align yourself with the most vibrant way of being in flow, we have to stay connected to this broader perspective. And this is that the supreme, divine, creative force, which created life, death, life, and all things, whatever religious or spiritual or cosmological ideology you ascribe to is fine. But just keep in mind, there's something that has given rise to this somethingness rather than nothingness. And that same energy, that same creative power, so too works upon you in your life. That same energy that allows ecosystems where every single species and animal plays a perfectly harmonized role to fulfill all of if you actually sit into the divine perfection of the simplest, most mundane things, it will astound you. There's a reason we kind of glance over it, because if you actually were in awe of like what a miracle a pen is, like you wouldn't get anything done. So I get that we have to override that. But the point here is when it comes to this bigger level, how do I live in flow? How do I be attuned to life? Stay connected to the miracle and trust it. Trust it with your life. Like It's inexplicable, the statistical improbability of your own existence. And the same energy that allows for all of that, weirdly enough, also applies to Instagram and emails and bills and boogers and like literally everything. So trust. Yeah, stay connected to the miracle. It's something I say every now and again when we need the reminder. Yeah. One piece that I'll add that sort of goes with this and the last point, which was openness. Openness and trust are an invitation for us into an energy that I think the word for is hope or faith. And it's so healing to allow ourselves to get out of our own dramas and reorient our awareness towards something more, something bigger, something more profound. I always have to be careful what language I use here because we all have different, systems of belief and thought that we live by, but trusting in that is healing. So, and it's you. It's you. When you're trusting in the universe, when you're trusting in life, when you're trusting in this divine creative power that allows for like mushrooms to grow on logs and bees to pollinate flowers that we co-evolved with 100 million years ago, that when we eat their medicinal things, they like make us healthier and they help us fight inflammation. And like you could literally go on about all that stuff, but that is you. When you trust in that, you trust in that power, you're trusting in yourself. Not your personhood per se, but in something even more essential to who you are. Does that make sense? That's the big one. That's a really big pill to swallow. So if that makes sense, like A+ for all of you. Seriously. Yeah. And for some of you, it's Jesus. And I work with lots of, yeah, great. Whatever's your thing. Yeah. I'm not going to say any more about any of that, but I love it all. Okay. We're going to carry on. Okay. Curiosity. In our world that values hyper productivity and performance and you know what our modern society feels like in your body. Okay. So when we actually enter into curiosity, it's about embodying a willingness to be with what is, to experience the fullness of the moment sensuously. Yeah. To be in a continuous practice of releasing expectations. It's not something you do one time. It's something you do every day. I mean, maybe someday you run out of expectations, but for most of us, it's a thing that you do consistently. And as you release that, you enter into curiosity, which invites, because what curiosity is you're, especially if we like, let's build for a second here. So we have breath, energy, openness, trust. And now we're bringing in curiosity, right? So all these things are overlaid. They're not separate. We're really building a complex, robust picture here. So when you add curiosity on top of all of that, that's truly where you invite magic into your life. It's where you make space for awe and yeah, all the things beyond what you could ever imagine. When you're making all your intentions for the new year and you're manifesting with your cinnamon and whatever you're doing, like when you really lean back into a deeper curiosity, you allow life to deliver you that which is so far beyond what you could ever bring with your own expectations, your own filters, things like that. So to me, this is an absolutely vital part of living in flow, because it's what our curiosity guides us towards, that leads us on the path of our truth. Your curiosities are non-random. Flow versus Tao. They want to say, I actually meant to talk about Tao. When we were doing like, what does flow mean to you? I meant to talk about that. I mean, Tao, the Tao is actually really hard to define, but it's essentially, there is a all pervasive harmony through all things in all times and all, it's just all pervasive harmony. And one of my dear friends, this is, now we're doing a little tangent again. One of my dear friends, who's actually a co-teacher with me in Soma, which we'll be talking about a little bit more at the end, he says to me, there is only flow. There is only flow. Same with the Tao. It's just like, it's all Tao. But it's, part of, when we come here as these infinite pure beings, and we start taking on all of the distortions of the world, we bring into our own minds and bodies separation and distortion and fear. And in response to that, we feel like we need to control and manipulate and, make the world a safe place for us to be, and all these things. And like, inherently, it's wild, it's flow. It's like, just, yeah, sorry, I'm just kind of freestyling there for a moment. Yeah, curiosity. And okay, the last thing I'll say about curiosity before we move on is, what I love so much about curiosity is when you're genuine in it. When you are genuine in your curiosity, you're present, you're humble, your heart is there, you're earnest, right? There's this, like, when I really want to understand something, I immerse myself into the moment of it. I immerse myself into it. And that is, if your goal is to live in flow, cool. But there's another goal, which is to be fully alive. And curiosity invites us into that in a big way. But just to frame that again, it feels like it's not that celebrated sometimes in our society. And that could be like a false story that I've learned, but sometimes it's radical to just be curious and to go play and to be in that mindset, not have to be an expert, and just to be, in that. Okay. We're going to carry on here. Intuition. And loved your Berlin Flow story. Thank you. So did I. It was really fun to live it, I gotta be honest. Yeah. Okay. So intuition. Let's drop back in our bodies for a second. All of us, everyone as a team. So find your alignment, find your comfort, find your breath, find your center. So we have breath, energy, openness, trust, curiosity. And now we're bringing in intuition. You feel how all of that sort of maps in your body. You feel when I said each of those words, like some of the impulses and responses that you have to that. It's okay if you don't, but if you do, just be aware. So when we're talking about intuition in the context of flow, intuition is your direct connection to source. Intuition is the direct channel that you have to that which is seemingly beyond, but fundamentally within all things, all around us, in all moments, all the time. And the reason this point, I suppose, is so powerful in here is because it's an invitation to nurture the relationship that you have to that channel, to nurture the relationship that you have to your intuition. We place a lot of value as a society on that which is outside of us. Think about how much time you spend with your eyes open, looking out. How much time do you spend with your eyes closed, looking in? Why is that a lesser experience? It's not. And it's not that you can't experience your intuition with your eyes open, because you can. But for a lot of us, our relationship to our intuition has been injured because we've been taught to override it. We've been taught to override our instincts. We've been taught to be nice and to be pleasing and to be polite and all of these things, when our intuition tells us run or tells us whatever else. You know, there's infinite context that we could bring in here. But if you really want to live in flow, but not just in flow, not just butterfly in the wind flow, but like you on your dharmic mission flow, you here in this world as your most expressed, most authentic self, here to be in the highest service that you can be to all beings by actually living by your authentic gifts. Your intuition is vital. Your intuition is your lifeline. Your intuition is your internal guidance system. No one outside of you can tell you what you need to be doing, what job might be a good fit for your personality. None of that. All of that is garbage. Only you know, and only you can find that from inside, from direct connection to source within you. This is my hot take. Like I said, check this against your own worldview, your own lived experience. You could be like, I don't agree. I don't really care, but this is my opinion. Yeah. And I might speak about this a little bit more at the end, but I'll add, because so many of us have imperfect relationships to our intuition because of life and the context of our traumas and our curriculums and whatever. Know that when your intuition feels offline, first of all, that's not true. It's always available, but I understand. So the nuance here is that when your intuition feels inaccessible, your values will guide you. Your values will guide you in the flow when your intuition is not even whispering. So we'll talk a little bit more about that at the end. Okay. Woo, we're getting there. Where are we? Like halfway through? I didn't tell you how many there were. Surprise. I think there's 12. But this is a non-comprehensive list, and it's my hot take. So yeah, I think there's 12, and let's see, we've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, 6 more. I'll keep going because we have pace to keep up with here. Yeah, when your intuition is unavailable, your values will guide you. I thought of that this morning. I don't know. It felt true. It works. I mean, I don't necessarily put words to things, but I live by them. And then someday you have to reflect and you put words to them, and those are the words that come out. So they resonate. They resonate. Beautiful. Desire. Desire is the next point. So again, connecting to the body, we're just going to keep doing that. You have the breath, energy, openness, trust, curiosity, intuition, and now we get desire. Desire has a bad rep sometimes, but we're talking about your true desires. Your true desires guide you in the flow towards your wholeness, towards your aliveness. They show us how to engage with life. And the only reason, or one of the main reasons I think that we tend to disvalue our desires is because we look at what other people seem to want. We look at the social constructs that we agree to as a society, and we wonder if our desires line up with that. And then we shut down parts of ourselves because we start buying into collective desires. And that's fine. But Not if you want to live your most authentic, vibrant, expressed, divinely in flow life. No, you got to really be in tune with your deep desires. Yeah. What else do I want to say about that? Maybe I'll give an example. And we'll braid in a little bit of the intuition piece here. So like, let's say, for example, I am not satisfied with my current reality. And I feel intuitively like I just want to move. I want to sell everything that I own, go into a backpack and buy a van or whatever the thing is. And I want to just start over. First of all, look at those impulses, because sometimes they're coping mechanisms to not be with what is. But sometimes it's wise information for us to, start anew. But our desires in that guide us, because even if, there's so much I want to say right now. I'm going to ground this by just saying, I really believe there's no wrong answers. I think we make choices and we get feedback from life and we keep going. So if you're like at a crossroads like that, you do the best you can and you keep going and you hold yourself in a lot of grace and a lot of self-compassion, and you just keep making choices, and it doesn't have to be so much pressure. You're not, I just want to say that because now I brought up this point about wanting to change your life. And I know that that resonates for some people. So that's just a quick add on that. But when you listen deep into some of those intuitive pulses to move or to whatever, you start to hear that there are desires that live within you to travel, to connect with people, to be in community, to be on dance floors, to write a book, to whatever your thing is. And I think, you can override that, but at a certain point, they'll keep coming back to you. And if you really hear the call multiple times, I would encourage you to follow some of those desires. I think they really guide you into an authentic path, an authentic flow. Yeah. Okay. That's all I'm going to say about desire for right now. It's a little bit sticky. There's a little bit of nuance there. So if you have specific questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. And if not, I'm going to continue. I'm going to take a sip of tea. I invite you to stretch your legs or drink some water or take a breath or pick your nose or whatever you got to do. You're free. Okay. Okay. Participation. This is one of my favorite words. I feel like 10 minutes started up with the recording. Okay, we'll do the recording. We'll just do the recording. I'll just embrace that I can't be perfect and there's no right way to do this, and the world can see this experience in all of its glory. Okay. Participation. Wow, you guys, this is such an important point. Because you can be in your body, in your breath, with your energy, aware of life. You can be in trust, you can be in all these things, but you can kind of get passive sometimes in that way. And what intuition and desire are getting at is they're starting to give you direction about how to move through the world, where to go, right? That's where you kind of find your compass through it. And what participation is it's asking you to co-create. You get to participate in life. You get to play, you get to live out loud, you get to be bold. You matter. Your involvement counts. Your contribution is important. That is how you can participate in inspiring and healing and transforming and beautifying and all the things that you desire to do in the world. So I encourage you to participate. One of the ways I think about this for myself when I'm just out and about in my day-to-day life, as I say, it's important to me to be a pillar of warmth and presence. And in that way, I participate. No matter where I am, I'm walking around, I'm in an airport, I'm walking down the street, I choose to not check out and look away and be on my phone. And I'm not saying I do this all the time. Of course, I'm freaking human. I do all of the things, but when I'm really conscious with it, I love to be a pillar of warmth and presence. I love to just like be so grounded in my own body that someone else with their whatever, that they can look at me and we can smile at each other and they leave being like, that's cool. Whatever, I don't know what they leave with, but it's nice to know that I can participate. I can pick up garbage when it's on the street. If not me, who? If not now, when? Like really, this is an invitation to step up, be of service, show up in life. You are the world. What you do to the world, you do to yourself. If you want to see a world where people share their art and share their stories, start telling your stories. Start showing people your art. Participate. What's that great quote about the man in the arena? I don't know exactly what it is or who it's by, but the sentiment is like, you can say all you want on the sidelines, but the man in the arena can never really lose, because you're in it. So you want to live in flow, you got to go on the adventure. You got to like put yourself out there. You got to lean in. And to kind of braid this point in maybe a little bit more cosmically or something, when we're talking about participating, I love this picture so much. It's this fairy like weaving into the spider web, because we're all so deeply connected. You can't shake a finger without shaking the entire universe, because every single atom and molecule is connected to one another. Every inaction you do, you're still participating, and it affects all things. And maybe not in ways that make sense to our minds, but in real ways. So participate, and hold that knowing of our interconnection. And I don't know, I almost want to use the word like depersonalize it. Like you're not just participating because you have your like stuff you want to do in the world, but there's also this level that's like, life, God, spirit, whatever, use me. How can I, what's it matter if my life is, perfect to my expectations of what I think it should be? Like, if that's the price I have to pay to be of service to you, use me. Maybe that's a little far out, but I truly live by that and I believe in it wholeheartedly. So, okay, cool. Are we good? Chat's happening, sticky, very good. Connection, lovely. Love to hear it. Love to hear your participation. Keep it coming. Okay, thank you. Carrying on now. All right, here's our next water break. Love a good Chinese proverb. Love a good proverb from anywhere, honestly. Proverbs are awesome. A bird does not sing because it has an answer. It sings because it has a song. Cheers. Yeah. So when you're holding yourself on the sidelines, worrying about if it's good enough, or if you're enough, or if people even want it, or if anybody cares, or if it's going to be received or whatever, like, you don't do it for that. You do it because you have a song to sing, All right. I feel like I'm like preaching now, so I'm going to keep talking about my hot take on flow and stop preaching so much. Okay. We're getting there. What do we have now? 4 points left. Non-attachment. This is a fun one. This is a hard pill to swallow, though. Yeah. Especially when we take it in the context of desires. Our desires typically inform our attachments. And so, under this framework that I'm giving for you here about how to live in flow, your desires are important. But equally, if not more important, is the continuous surrendering of your expectations, of your entitlement to the outcome. non-attachment. Like I said, desires can help guide us. They can help, desires and intuition and curiosity, all three of those, help show the way forward for us in a way that's uniquely personal and just for us. You know, they show you your path through the world. And simultaneously, it's a pilgrimage. Destinations, I mean, the paradox is like, what pilgrimage? We're already here now and we're always here now. And simultaneously, it's a pilgrimage and there's no destination. You got to be able to hold them both. But the non-attachment piece is, what I love about it is it's humbling. Who am I to have the audacity to think that I know what's meant for me in this life? You know, we are so quick to try to control and manipulate and make people, you know, we contort ourselves that people like us, you know, because we want to like be loved in those ways, which makes total sense. Those are really wise coping mechanisms at some level, you know. But what's really radical is when you just say, okay, if I'm just going to be me, authentically me, no matter what, don't care if people like me or not, like my tribe will find me, you know, the things that are meant for me will find me. And you stop being attached to needing to make sure people like you, needing to make sure people don't get mad at you, needing to make sure that, you know, you succeed or at whatever it is that you're working on. Like, I love in the 4 agreements, there's, you know, always do your best. But where the arrow lands, it's not in your control. So let it not be in your control. You know? Everything in this world is a coming and going. We've been deeply disconnected from this cyclical energy. But it shows us death is just as much a coming and going as life. So to really live in flow, you have to be willing to let go. Even if it seems good sometimes, even if you don't want to go, like, you make space for the next thing. And it's important. It's how we move forward. Okay. And from non-attachment, we get awareness. Don't honestly have much to say about this point. It's pretty profound and all-encompassing and significant. It's the depersonalized, awakened perspective of your life in the context of all life. And when we, oh, you're so welcome. It's truly my pleasure. I'm here for you. I'm here in service to you all in this way. This is my Dharma. And this is my first ever workshop. So this is pretty great. Thanks for being here. Yeah, when you, let's stay in the body here for a moment, right? I'm just gonna keep repeating it because it helps us anchor it and it helps us build it. So when you have breath, always your direct connection to spirit, to flow, to stillness and change, to doing and non-doing. Breath opens us into energy, into openness, into trust, into curiosity, into intuition, desire. Now we're participating in life, but we're not attached. From all of this is born a much greater awareness. I really don't have much else to say on it. If you have specific questions, I can answer them. But to me, it's just like, yeah, I don't know. Cool. Awareness. it's really something not to be spoken about and just to be experienced. I think that's why I don't have many words for it. When you speak about it, you're usually, it gets confused sometimes. Final 2 points are acceptance. Life is not about you. It's not. Doesn't mean that it's not for you, with you, through you, as you yourself. It's all of these things, these phenomenal paradoxes that make no sense to our mind are so profoundly true, right? That life is not about you, and yet your life is about you. I've spoken about that before. Some of you might have seen my TikTok on this. And there's liberation in acceptance, not only of that, but when we have desires and our desires aren't met, accepting that is liberation, which is arguably our truest desire. So you start letting go of how things need to look, materially manifested in your life, and you give yourself permission to be at peace with what is, no matter what it is. I've experienced a wide spectrum of life's offerings. Some really ugly stuff too. And the refuge in those moments is that I can choose peace and acceptance, not from a dissociated, reactionary place, but from an empowered place. There's a lot of nuance here and delicacy. And, I feel like we'll probably have workshops where we talk more about healing specifically and some of these things. So let's recognize there's nuance. But to radically accept what is puts you in flow. Our resistance to reality is the greatest thing that keeps us from being vibrantly alive and from being connected to life in that way. One of the energies, this is the last thing I'll say about acceptance. One of the energies that I love about acceptance, think about, actually, let's do this together. So come into your body here and feel what acceptance does to your body. Y'all want to drop it in the chat, what you're experiencing right now? For me, it's this very distinct energy that when I'm in non-acceptance, it's like I'm pushing a field. It's like I'm pushing a defense mechanism out of my body. And what acceptance does is it brings the truth in. It brings reality in. It's how I embrace what is. It brings me to my heart. Yeah. Yeah. And look at all these other things that it can feel like. It can feel like joy. It can feel like release, like love. Yeah. And that's partly why I said, take everything that I say and map it onto your own lived experience, because my understanding of what these words mean and how they feel in my body is distinct from yours. And what's important is that you develop a system to live by that works for you, So this is all just frames. Yeah, acceptance. Yeah, tapping into a blossoming inside the body. That's juicy. That's awesome. Good for you. Okay. As a final point, which you could probably guess, Yeah, it's love. It's love. You're so welcome, Jennifer. Bye-bye. I'll put the recording somewhere out in the world. Yeah, love. So, like I said, all of these things, all of these points have been overlaid, right? And love is the bridge between the farthest point and the breath. It's what turns all of the points that I've just given you into a cycle, into a wheel, into a living transmission in your body. That might be a little far out, but it really makes sense to me, because love is both the most intimate thing that we are, and it's the most, don't make me say it. It's just like, wow, love. So, one of the things that I think is perhaps unique to my teaching and my way of life, I don't know anybody that's really talking about this, but this is like what I'm literally going to devote my life to, is what I call being a radical romantic. There is something so freaking liberating about letting yourself be in love. You don't need to end the sentence like with anything. Just letting yourself be in love is so radical. And I just think, I mean, truly, like, my worldview on this is that life is my lover. I'm the beloved. And also it goes both ways. Both are true. But like, every moment I'm being invited into romance with life itself. Every single moment I can choose to feel this cashmere on my skin. And it's, why is that any different than when a lover touches your arm? It's not. It's really not. Let yourself be in love. Oh, that makes me want to cry. That's big. Yeah. Yeah. Please let yourself be in love. And this other piece about being in this radical romance with life itself, every page of your book, every time you touch your phone, it doesn't matter, whatever it is, let yourself see the romance in it, because what it does is it brings you back to your body. Romance is grounding. Romance is sensuous. Romance is where you enter these high vibrational states of love and delight and pleasure and peace and bliss. And these states, whether or not they're better than any other states, they're healing. And they're balancing for us, who many of whom spend a lot of our time in other states of consciousness. So when you remember, let yourself be in love. And it takes nothing. Your own breath can be erotic if you want it to be, like, you literally need nothing. You need no thing. Empty, 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 and in love. Yeah. Okay. You think we're done because we just reached our 12th point, but we're not. So we're going to do a quick recap. This is how I conceptualized them last night in my meditation. They came to me in a spiral, and breath was the center, and then energy, and then openness, trust, and curiosity. Oops. Yeah. It's kind of a messy map. Also, yes, this is my handwriting. This is how I experienced them. And like I said, I had a very different presentation put together for today. So there's so much more juicy other things for other times, but this came through as like, truth comes ringing with a bell. And like, this is what needed to be shared today, because this is the grounded way to be in your body and to make present choices that align you with flow and with love and with your authentic self and with spirit and with deeper connection to all things and all that juicy stuff. So Then I asked myself, okay, but is this enough for the people in the workshop to really integrate this? Or do we need something a little bit more tangible? This still feels a little complex or conceptual. And this nice set of rhyming words came to me: align, refine, and divine. Maybe this is arbitrary, but this was a framework that helped me understand what I would want to leave you with to go off into your lives and kind of take with you from here. So align is once again asking us to participate in the flow, to participate in our own lives consciously. You can be a butterfly just flapping about in the wind, but there's something very powerful when you connect to your desires, you connect to your dharmic calling, and you align yourself with that, with your values, you know. So if that point feels confusing for you, your homework is to get clear on what you value, among other things. There's probably lots of other ways we could do homework for align, but check in with your intuition, find some practice that will work for you to connect you with that, and align. The second point is refine. So sure, we can live in our bodies and feel the energy and all of these things, but our bodies have become the battleground of modern society's illnesses. And it's pretty complicated to feel really connected, really in flow, all these things when we're pumped up with processed foods and heavy metals and, you know, hormones and all these things that are taking us out of our innate rhythm, our innate song with life. So this is an invitation. It's a new year. It's almost spring. This is a really good time to bring some more consciousness to what you're consuming, because all of those things are going to inform your frequency. They're going to inform what your resonance is and what you flow towards and with, you know? So there was a time in my life when I was like super health nut vibes, which I still kind of am, but I was like crazy. And I say that I rebuilt my body because I literally just like, I got on a very strict Ayurvedic diet and I ate only like pure sattvic foods and all of these herbs and all of this stuff. And I cannot tell you how dramatically my consciousness changed. So eat whatever you're going to eat, do whatever you're going to do. I'm literally not telling you anything, but I'm just letting you know that if you want to like kind of go into like superhuman levels of flow and connection with life, you have to bring a lot of awareness to what you're inviting into your body and into your mind and into your bedroom, and many, many layers of what refined can be applied to. Maybe a way to think about it is like, if I don't want to become this, then I won't bring it in. You know, I don't know, that's just on the spot, but maybe something like that can help guide that process for you. And finally, the last piece to bring this into integration a little bit more is divine. That's my word. I know it rubs some people the wrong way, but what I really want to get with here is have a practice where you connect with whatever divine means to you. Have a meditation practice. If it's 2 minutes, that's amazing. That's 2 minutes more than if you didn't have the practice. Go outside, walk barefoot, connect with trees, connect with spirit. Even if it's confusing, like I grew up in very disconnected suburban classic America, kind of whatever. And I've been on a journey to develop the intuitive, magical relationship with life that I have. And when I started, I fumbled. You go out in the woods and you're alone and you're like, God, I don't know what you mean, but like, I'm here. And it's okay. Like, show up as you are, wherever you are. The divine is supremely compassionate and ever loving and forgiving, and is willing to meet you as you are in every moment, no matter what, whatever divine means to you. So my invitation is to build in space and time to be in relationship with it. Almost nothing is going to serve you more in your life than that. So I am a pretty like tactile kind of person. I need physical things to help me. So I have to I have a meditation cushion and I have a candle and I have like objects that help remind me of what I value. And I clear out objects that don't align with that, So this is an example of a way that you can kind of integrate that into your day-to-day. So new year, great time to anchor in those priorities. Just show up as you are. There's no need to be any type of way. Okay. The final thing, and something that I'm really excited to share with you, and I'm so grateful, first of all, I just want to say I'm so grateful for all of you for being here, for your presence, for your involvement, I see you taking notes, I see you writing in the comments. It means so much to me to be received by you, really. I've been working for years cultivating myself to get to the point where I can share, and it's so nourishing to share. And I hope that you've received something from me and in this exchange of our energy that is going to serve you. And if some of these little pieces that I touched upon pique your curiosity, well, I just built something freaking epic, and it's called Soma. 2 years ago, I was in meditation in Joshua Tree in the desert, and I was on a 10-day silent meditation retreat. You don't make eye contact with anyone. You don't have a phone or a pen or anything. You're just literally doing 10 hours of meditation every single day for 10 days. This was my second one that year. And on about the 5th day, I get struck by lightning internally in my body. And I've had spiritual awakenings. I've had many different layers and types of spiritual awakenings. This was not an awakening. This was an epiphany. And it came to me so loud and so clear. And I've been working for 2 years to build this. And this is what this is. This is what came to me in that moment, was the groundwork for what Soma is and has become. I leave that retreat, that meditation course, and I turn on my phone, and one of my dearest friends and peers and just someone who I just geek out with on all the things, he has texted me and he says, I think we need to go into business together. I was like, bro, you got the message too. Let's do it. So he's co-teaching this experience with me. I'll tell you more about him in a moment. So now you have the background, but you don't really know what Soma is. So I'm going to tell you what Soma is. Soma is an online immersive membership community of sorts. I've been calling it a pilgrimage because that's the wording that makes sense to me. We're going to pilgrimage through the year, through the cycle, and learn together. I'm pretty over this paradigm of teachers just giving you information and online courses and some of that stuff. I mean, I'm sure I'll create some things someday in some way, in a good way. But what Soma is it's space for you to experience yourself in community. So once a week, there'll be live classes by amazing teachers from around the world. I'll be leading one a month. My friend Luke will be leading one a month. We have another man, Maximilian Juno, who's an astrologer and a yogi and a phenomenal wordsmith and just channeler. He'll be leading one a month. And then every month we'll also have a space for guest teachers to come in. And I know some pretty amazing people. So this is an exclusive experience. You can only have these classes from inside Soma. And they're going to be unlike anything you can get at any yoga studio anywhere. Luke is an eco-psychologist phenomenologist. His yoga classes braid you into the earth. Maximilian, who's an astrologer, he brings in grounded context of what's happening in these planetary cycles into our bodies through his teachings. And my work is very sensuous and very restorative and very heart and womb and juicy. And honestly, I don't even know what we're going to be doing. It's going to be very intuitively guided. But once a week, there will be classes, and those classes will be recorded, and you can access them literally every day for the rest of the year if you want. There's no rules. So it's an amazing investment. you can do the classes as many times as you want. And each class is based on an element. So because this is really a study of the energies of the cycle, let's take January, for example. January, there's going to be a fire class, a water class, an earth class, an air class. And we're going to be really studying the intimate energetics of what fire means in the context of January. And if you come with us through the whole pilgrimage, if you want to be with us still in July, when we do a fire class in July, it's an intimately different experience than a fire class in January. And so we're really just going to be experiencing together, because you don't need to know all the things through your mind. You just need to live it. You just need to experience it. And it becomes a living transmission within you. So it's all, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but I hope that makes sense. So that's one of the pillars of Soma. The second piece is sharing circles. I think that one of the most powerful things that we can do is remember that when we share our story, we heal each other and we heal ourselves. So this is not like a group coaching program. This isn't a support group. This is just a space to recognize that what you, Chelsea, or you, Anna, or you, Lee, are experiencing in your life is relevant to all of us. And you experiencing it is important. And as you share upon it, we all get to map that into our own lives and learn from one another and heal together. And it's not a space for getting advice or for pitying each other or anything. It's just a space to be in the practice of deep listening, deep heart shares, and telling our empowered personal narratives. And the final piece, and the piece that I'm probably most excited about, is ceremony. I've designed this so that ceremony every month, every new moon, is just for those of us with wombs. We will be doing work that will benefit everyone in Soma, womb or not. So if you feel outside of that, please know you're always invited to participate in your own self-ceremony during that time. But there's truly something magical that happens when those with wombs gather together to be in prayer and to be in communion. So that is a pillar of Soma as well. And once per season, we'll be having an open ceremony that everyone is invited to, womb or not, to really anchor and understand and be in relationship to things like the solstices and the equinoxes in a way that's not pagan, it's not religious, it's not whatever. It's really just what's your authentic way of being in relationship with what is. Nature is the teacher. Nature is the teacher. The cycle is the path. So that is Soma. That's what's included in Soma. Here's your team: myself, Luke, Maximilian, and then our mystery guest teacher every month. I have friends that are going to come in and do vocal activation and Reiki stuff. And like, I have a teacher from when I was in India. He's like an old spiritual man. I'm hoping he'll come and guide some practices. Like, I have no idea, but part of the joy of it is this program, this membership experience keeps you in your curiosity. And it's going to consistently invite you into embodiment experiences that are honestly not something that anyone else is doing anywhere. This is pretty radical and pretty revolutionary. So I would love to all of you to be a part of it. So if you're interested, I'm offering 30% off with the code SOMA30. And if you are super interested and this still feels cost prohibitive to you, please reach out to me. Like, let's work together. I would rather you have this experience and benefit from this than feel like you can't because of the money. So let's talk if you need that. But what I valued this all at right now, it's $99 a month or $9.99 for the whole year, which to me is an extraordinary value for what you're getting. You're getting 4 hour-and-a-half long classes once a week, taught by amazing teachers from around the world, sharing circles twice a month, and ceremony for, less than, a couple dinners out with friends or whatever, however you think about your money in that way. So 30% off with Soma 30. We start in January and it's going to be going on all year long. It's a monthly membership or the annual membership. But that's that. And that concludes what I wanted to share about living in flow and about Soma. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm just going to come join you all. And we can stick around and chit chat if you have anything else you want to say or questions or feedback. We did it. Yay. Thank you.